Hello everybody, thank you for coming. It's my pleasure to introduce you to the panel, Key to Sustainability, what Gamefi projects like to maintain success and build trustworthy ecosystem. And myself, Kema, will be moderating this panel, founder of Graph Marketing Agency and also building games. So I guess this project's the panel gonna be really, really interesting. And I'll let you introduce yourself. How about we start from Dominic?
Hi, I'm Dom, founder of VEMP Studios. We're a games launcher and we also have a staking platform which we use in order to fund and build our projects, most using our own token, but some others as well. Launched August 2021, so over 2 years now, which makes us a dinosaur. If you launched before Axie went massive, then apparently that makes you a dinosaur, so that's us.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Eugene and I'm a CEO of YardHub, which is a venture studio. We fund and develop projects from all of the Web3 industries, but we have a couple of games that have around 80,000 people in communities. One of the games is called DeepMind. We are steadily in the top 100 Gamefi projects by the amount of daily active wallets, and I would say in the top 50 by the amount of daily active transactions.
Hi everyone, I'm Laurin, Bylica. I'm the director of partnerships of Illuvium. First let's talk about me and then the game. I made my way into crypto 2015 privately, got really hooked on Bitcoin. And then professionally 2017, I've been working on different things, including infrastructure projects. I was the founder of am the founder of a DeFi protocol that's still making its way up. And 2022, I decided to exit all those different journeys and go with my passion, gaming and crypto. So I joined Illuvium as the director of partnerships. At Illuvium, we are really focused on gaming first, meaning we are building AAA gaming titles, the first to be introduced into the Web3 space, hoping to get the mass of Web2 gamers transitioning over into Web3. Those three titles are a city builder game, an open world explorer, and an auto battler game. We call it, due to the nature of those games, they're interconnected. So we build on interoperability, meaning people can mint different assets and use them within the other gaming titles. And on top of this, we have a card collection game called Illuvium Beyond that is live already, while the other 3 games are in private beta, and we are going soon, hopefully, in open beta stage. That's about myself and Illuvium.
Cool. Thank you. So I'm Fehmi. I'm actually part of the Arena Games team. Personally, I started my crypto journey back in 2013, mining mainly. Then I kept mining, started trading, and got hacked, lost north of 100 Bitcoins, and realized that my passion is not about crypto and tokens, it's really about building stuff. And I started getting into smart contracts and building, and I met Mika about 2 years ago, and then we moved from building a game to building a gaming infrastructure ecosystem, allowing game developers to launch games and allowing gamers also to discover multiple games through only one access to the platform. And we'll talk about how that unfolds in a few minutes.
Thank you so much. So based on my experience, Gamefi projects lack a lot of things to success in the space. Let's say for my own Gamefi project, we have lack of funds, definitely. But what do you see as typical pitfalls that Gamefi projects encounter on the way, and what would the crucial points that need careful consideration would be?
Economy, definitely. I don't think it's any fault of games themselves. It's mainly the fact that, like with most new trends, and crypto is very, very seasonal, DeFi summer, the Axie Infinity run, and then Metaverse, which sort of blended in after Facebook rebranded. Everybody always bases their economy or token flow or game based on the lead at the time, the one that is performing the best. However, everybody based their game's economy around Axie, which didn't have a good game economy at all. It was far too inflationary with the two-token model. I mean, I do find it frustrating. People now, if you talk to VCs in particular, and you talk to them about a two-token model, they will automatically assume that it's inflationary, that it won't work, which isn't true whatsoever. My background was in derivatives trading, wealth management, and VC before launching crypto gaming protocol. And it doesn't matter if you have 1 token, 2 tokens, 3 tokens, or 4. If it works and it's a good economy, it will work. And if it doesn't, and you design it poorly, then it won't work. It doesn't matter how many tokens it has within the ecosystem. It's just about having enough deflationary sinks in order to counteract any inflationary pressure, because inflation comes from everywhere. It can come from the game and the rewards. However, the rewards can be put back into it. The main areas where you'll have a lot of inflation is from VCs selling tokens, you know, your early investors, team, and it's wrong for people to think that any VC will hold on to their bags. I can assure you, almost all VCs that I've come across, they sell harder than the public do. So it's about making sure that you take into account not just like reward inflation within a game economy, but you need to know exactly where the money is, where the sell pressure is, and you need good market makers, because you can time your announcements around the times where you know, for example, you have VCs unlocking, therefore you want to counteract the sell pressure that you're going to end up getting. So it's about being smart and never trusting people to hold on to any tokens that they get, because inevitably, whether it's rewards or whether it's early investors, the early investors, they gave money to make money, and if you give people rewards, that is a reward, and what are they going to do with it? They will sell it at some stage. So it's all about economic design rather than any specific token model being, you know, bad versus good.
I think that the biggest problem is that most of Gamefi projects are, I wouldn't say bad, they're not good. And I think they're over-promising, and that's a huge problem in the industry. I don't know how many of you are familiar with a project called Pixelmon. So basically those guys, I think they've raised like $300 million. I might be lying, but it's like dozens and dozens of millions of dollars. They promised a huge AAA game. It's like kind of a Minecraft style game. And they released the art. I think like someone on Fiverr did it for $10. It was just so awful. I mean, I get it, but it became a meme. So I think that's a really big problem, that a lot of companies, they don't have enough experience. You know, they're not, like, you don't have 2K, you don't have EA Sports, you don't have all of those guys who know how to make games. You have a lot of people coming from different industries. They think, okay, we'll get $10 million and we'll figure it out, and they don't figure it out. And the games are really bad, and I think that's something that the industry still needs to figure out. Because if you think about it, like, Illuvium is one of the examples, you know, that people know, oh, this is a AAA game, you know, but I don't think that I can name even 5 games that are coming that are, you know, people expect to be really good. And I think that's the biggest problem.
Okay, I disagree with Dominic. I partially agree with you. Let me just give you my perspective on this. So first of all, when you look at a gamer, regardless of Web 2 or Web 3, it's all about having fun. Where do gamers have fun? In good games. So yeah, I agree with that, with Eugene, that there's not a lot of AAA rated games in the industry at the moment. AAA is, although, a buzzword, yeah? So don't think of it like AAA is an official rating. AAA is more a standard that just defines there's good gameplay and good graphics. And now looking at the economy of those new games, they are facing a crucial issue, because they are building on the idea to own really an asset, and they raise on this idea a lot of funds. Building a game is not only very time-consuming, it takes around 4 to 6 years if you are a good game development studio to build a AAA title, and you cannot expedite it. So we will see a lot of more good games entering the space for sure over the next years, but also we have to think of a Web3 game to not only launch a good gaming title, but also an economy behind. And that economy has a supply and a demand side. So the supply side is really fueled by play to earn, by a lot of NFTs that people can achieve or mint or buy and so on, playing the game, or of course earn playing the game, same as tokens. But on the flip side, how do you get the demand side up? And the demand side is really coming from the gamers themselves. So if you don't build a community that has fun playing the games and telling their friends about the game, there will be no demand for those assets. And yes, then I come back to Dominic, where I think you're totally right. Building a good economy is right, is crucially important for a Web3 venture. But the thing is, it's not about that. The first thing is you focus on the customer. Build a very, very good game that people enjoy playing. Blockchain tech is not a front-end technology. Blockchain tech is a back-end technology. If you make it your marketing, your value proposition to a Web2 gamer, you'll miserably fail. Focus on building a good game, and then you see the demand rising, and then you see the economy flourishing, and people will have fun. So that's about really the gaming side and how to not only attract Web3 gamers to your game, but also the mass of Web2 gamers. By the way, just the last statement on this, how many players are there in Web3? If there are 2 million active players in Web3, I'll be very surprised. So the market is actually small compared to a 3 billion people's market in Web2. So the challenge is, let's build really cool games and get those Web2 players to play our stuff.
Cool. It is tough to come forth on this question because everything has been said in a very proper way. I'm going to actually kind of second some of the thoughts that have been proposed here. The first thing is, I really think that games should start from the fundamental thing, which is entertainment. It doesn't have to be AAA. Some really small games are super addictive, and people love them, and they play them, and they share them, and they want to compete in them. So if you have that component, then you win. Second, obviously, if you can build a sustainable economy that is not super inflationary, then you can sustain that economy, and you can sustain the players coming back, and maybe some of them are here to earn, and some are here to play and have fun and maybe spend. You need the two types of players, because otherwise you only have value extractors, and then they only take the coins and cash out, or buy the NFTs and flip them. The other thing that is super important is the user experience. One of the big differences between Web 2 and Web 3 that is kind of disappearing today is you have to connect your MetaMask or your wallet, you have to approve a transaction, you have to do things that most people who are not Web3 native don't like. I just want to open a game and play. So today, with technologies like account abstraction and gasless transactions and that kind of stuff, you can play the game and it could have Web3 components in the back end, and you never realize that it's a Web3 game. And that's potentially the biggest advantage for the future developers of games. That would mean that you can focus on the fun, on the entertainment. You can have Web3 components. You don't have to put them in front, because as you said, Web3 is a back-end technology. Nobody cares if the game is hosted on Google servers or on Amazon servers. Like, who gives a fudge? So technically, same for the technology of Web3. Nobody cares which blockchain, what technology, nobody cares about NFTs. I'm talking about the masses. So if we can build a game that is super fun, that has Web3 in the back end, and it has a sustainable economy, I think that's the recipe for success for future games that are coming. And I know a few titles that are coming could be considered AAA. Illuvium is one of them, but there's Star Atlas, Shrapnel. There's a few big studios like Ubisoft that are releasing games in the next few weeks. So it is coming, because since Axie made it popular, it was almost 3 years ago, it takes about 3 to 4 years to build a high-quality game. So now we're going to see those coming to the market in the next few weeks and months.
Thank you. So to summarize, please correct me if I'm wrong, we need to have tokenomics in place, right? We need to have experienced team as well. We need to have fun game, and also it has to be Web2 friendly. Should I put it this way? Web2 friendly game, yes. All right, so identifying patterns of success. What key commonalities you find between all successful GameFi projects?
Yeah, I think the core, and it was mentioned up that side of the panel already, is I think sometimes people overcomplicate gaming because, as it was mentioned, a lot and the predominant amount of gaming, especially mobile gaming, isn't AAA. You know, when you're talking about PS and you're talking about Xbox, sure, you know, people want the good graphics, but if you're talking about like some staples of like, you know, the mobile gaming industry, like build and battlers, like Boom Beach, Clash of Clans, you know, no one is super impressed with the graphics, or people don't buy it and play it for that. Obviously, to an extent, you do need it to look very good, but it's a lot more about the UI and making sure that it's ergonomic rather than necessarily AAA, because you have that limitation with the phones anyway. So I think that it is, sometimes people forget about the fact that it's supposed to be, you know, fun, and the addictiveness of small-time games that are just there to waste time when you're, you know, when you're at work. If you're working a job that you don't like, then I used to dictate my interest in my job based upon whether I would be progressing in my Clash of Clans that I had on my phone. Because if I was enjoying my job, I wouldn't play it, and if I wasn't, then I would literally be leading a clan. Because I would just waste time doing it. And this sort of addictiveness and time wasting and, you know, escape that people use mobile gaming for isn't necessarily done with a AAA budget. I think that people, I mean, AAA in itself, it's, you know, sounds like the very prestige. And I think that we could do with a lot more smaller, more addictive, fun style games that come up and have that Web3 component, because even stuff like Snake, is there a Web3 Snake? I don't know, there might be. But, you know, that would be the sort of small-time, easy production game that if you added a few, like, you know, Snake skin NFTs into it, made some sort of play-to-earn element. I should trademark this, actually. Everyone in this audience is definitely going to be looking this up. But, yeah, I think that people overcomplicate it sometimes. And there's definitely a big market for just small, simple, fun, addictive gaming.
Yeah, well, let's make a Web3 solitaire, you know, each card is an NFTs. And for me, the only indicator of success is community. So like, I don't care how good is the project, if there are no people who are excited about it, I think, what else can be the indicator? So for me, first of all, like there were some studies that show that retention rate in Web3 is much higher than Web2. So like the games and people tend to stick more. It might be because, first of all, like the novelty, you know, maybe because it is a little bit more complicated right now to get into Web3. Just people, after going through all the hurdles, they tend to stick. But I would say that's the main thing. If you have a strong community that believes in you, it is much easier to build, because as someone mentioned, you know, if you're developing a good game, it takes a lot of time. And if you're a big guy, you know that you will sell it. You know, you have all the resources, you have all the knowledge, all the experience. But for the Web3, it's much harder because most of the companies that build here, there are no names in the gaming world, and for them, building the community would be crucial.
Okay, so when you think about the gamer again, and sorry, I'll go on, I think, through the whole talk about this, as it seems. Web2 gamers are not buying the value proposition of Web3. That's a big misconception. If you build a Web3 competitor with some expensive JPEGs, from their perspective, they will not transition over. They don't see first the value proposition, they are not buying in, they are seeing the media, they are influenced by the media with the narrative, crypto is a scam, NFTs are a scam, it doesn't make sense to go into that space if they get rocked. So why would they transition over? And here's the thing, the main value proposition of a game is the game. We are building products. Every product that wants to be supposedly successful one day, that has to have a value proposition that is based on the key metrics of problem solution. So what is the problem that games are solving? Gamers are looking for fun. The problem that we are solving we are delivering fun. If we don't deliver fun, there will be no gamers playing the game. It will not be sustainable. And that's what this is about. Yes, there's with Web3 the sensitivity of launching a good economy. That's apparent. That's very clear. We all know that inflationary economies will not sustain. However, if the demand side for the game is that big, then you can build an economy in an exploratory phase, but smart contracts you cannot alter. So you have to put a very careful approach to launching a solid economy as the second component of Web3 gaming. But yeah, the first component, by far the most outstanding, important component that I will stress throughout the whole talk, build a good game. It's not just building a Web2 competitor that's exactly the same, that has a huge community, because you will not be able to sell that product. People have already their friends in the Web2 competitor. It will be very hard, very expensive getting them over. And the other thing is, we had, for example, a collaboration with GameStop, the biggest gaming retailer in the world. We built a digital collection together with them. And it was really interesting to see what the Web2 people are thinking of a Web3 game. And nobody, was really fighting against the Web3 components, as this was not the main foreground of this. We really put our games there for people to check them out. So we are in a private beta, and when people participated in that collection, they got a private beta pass. And that at a price point that they are used to. Not a $1,000 JPEG, that's not what we went after. So it was at a price point where people saw, I'll buy a unique, funny-looking hand-drawn avatar, a profile picture, and then I get also my private beta key to enter the private betas. So I'm practically buying a game. And from that perspective, that was really successful. So we got a lot of Web2 people in Illuvium that were just playing the game and really liking it. And then I got these pictures from, sent from the Web2, it was a kid actually who plays our auto battler game every day, and the father of the kids took a picture and he was like, man, I love your game. And that's what it's about. Build a good game, build a good economy, be careful about the economy, smart contracts are tricky, and then you can really see also that you will build a bridge between Web 2 and Web 3. And it will still take 7 impressions general to make the sale. So you have to be 7 times in front of the Web 2 crowd for them to trust your game and to come over.
Just to kind of double click on what you guys said, it starts with the fun. It starts with the concept that the game is offering. So if it's entertaining, that's the biggest win. If it's also addictive, it doesn't have to be super high quality. Some simple games are super addictive, and they actually use something that humanity has always praised, which is competition. So if you can compete and you can kind of rank on a specific leaderboard for a very simple game, that could also be super engaging, and people can keep coming back because of that level of competition that they want to reach. The other thing that is super important is, instead of trying to really have, as you said, people buy super expensive NFTs in order to access the game, a lot of Web 2 games now are free to play, and that is a model that should be followed by a lot of Web 3 gamers, game developers, and it's already the case. Because if you can bring the players on board, they can start playing, and then with in-app purchases or in-game purchases, then you can generate more revenue. That is a more sustainable model compared to if you ask them to buy 3 axes for $1,000, and then those axes are worth $5 a year later or 2 years later. That is a big problem. The other thing that a lot of games are not really looking at is sustainability if they have a token of that specific token. I do tokenomics as a consultant, and sometimes the best advice is, why don't you use a stable coin? Because people are used to those stable coins. They know that $1 is $1. They don't care if your token is going to go to the moon and down, because that is a risk. It's not. It's only attractive to degens, not to gamers. Gamers need stability. So if you can have your own stablecoin, okay. But if you can use another stablecoin, that is also okay. And that allows you to maybe, for example, make transaction fees, and on every transaction you can have multiple microtransactions and you make their fees, and that's your revenue model. So there's multiple ways of monetizing the game, and not just through sales of NFTs. A lot of games today are building completely decentralized ecosystems where the NFTs could be minted for free. The token is really not owned by the game, but the game encourages transactions and interaction between the gamers and charges transaction fees, and that is a sustainable model as long as the game is cool.
Thank you. That's really good answers. I'm gonna actually put it out for myself to use in future. So, considering the fundamental differences between GameFi as we know it now and traditional gaming, what are key differences, or how must a GameFi project deviate from conventional gaming?
I think the tech does it for us. I mean, in terms of the benefits that Web3 offers, is the fact that losing, save data like skins, upgrades, new guns. If we're talking like Call of Duty, emblems and everything, everything like that. The key benefit that Web3 actually offers is the fact that people can have those attached to themselves via their wallet. They can maintain ownership of those assets and don't lose them every time they have to, a new game comes out or a new update comes out. So the blockchain element is really, does that work for us? It should be, if we were in an ideal world where, everything was logical and rational and you weren't fighting against, outside influences, it makes perfect sense for, NFTs to be implemented in normal Web2 games. The only reason it isn't is just due to a fundamental misunderstanding of the technology, its benefits, and why it makes sense. And that's more of a label problem and, sort of a behavioral problem which should be able to be worked around with enough emphasis put on it and enough explanation, fingers crossed, because, it makes perfect sense to have those assets on the blockchain where you're not losing them every time, and it actually gives those assets to the user, not just on, I was going to say on paper there, but not just, saved on a console. They can actually take that with them, and they own that. They always try, and I say they as like Web2 gaming companies, always try and crack down on like outside markets where people make their own third-party like marketplaces, like FIFA cards. I remember, I think even when I was back in school, there was like a secondary marketplace or like a black market being made for these like FIFA cards. So the actual like Web2 games, if they were sensible and understood it, there's so many ways that they could monetize it. And the thing is, in this industry, like money talks at the end of the day. And as soon as Web3 gaming manages to hurt Web2's pocket, then you will see the change immediately, and it will be an absolute rush because that's the only thing that's really that they care about is returning capital to shareholders. So if you can hit them where it hurts and that's in their pocket, then like they'll do the rest for you. But until we actually take some sort of market share, then it will be a slow process, but it should be, slowly, then all at once.
I would be honest, I don't really like the polarity, between Web 2 and Web 3. We're always talking about like these are like things that fight against each other or something like that. Like they should be different. I think it's been mentioned that blockchain is just backend technology, and I think games just need to adopt the best things it offers. When like content distribution networks appeared, no one said that we need to build different products, and then they just adopted it. And I think the same with the blockchain. So it promises decentralization, transparency, asset ownership. So just adopt these best things, put them into the games, and you wouldn't call them Web 2 or 3. There is a joke, like how do you call alternative medicine that works? You call it medicine. So we don't need to have Web 2 games, Web 3 games. We need to have games that offer you the best that tech has to offer. So I think that's what should happen.
Okay. The key difference is actually in the terms of service of Web 2 and the terms of service of Web 2 games. So it's very simple. Secondary market trading is not enabled and not encouraged. Actually, it's illegal. So when you have in Web 2 gaming titles a very strict focus on primary sales, you build a different business model because that's your revenue, your form of revenue. So you have no other option than sticking with primary sales because you don't want to have Web 2 gamers taking away your profits, your revenue. So now in Web 3 gaming, due to the component of ownership of assets and then opening up of secondary markets, you become much more independent and much more free to build business models that are user-centric, gamer-centric. That means that with Web3 games, we have a lot of new complexity in, and there's a lot of exploratory space here that we have to, tackle and see what's the best way to go, what's going to be the common business models. I don't think we are there yet. We see that the high volatility and the also, the Web3 gaming industry is that dependent on the Bitcoin price, like the whole of Web3. So this is not the same for the Web2 industry because we are very much focusing on different business models that are not vague. They are in the terms of services. Those are agreements that people sign as soon as they start playing a game. And with Web3, we are in a new territory. We put the gamer's ownership first. Me, as a big World of Warcraft player back in the days, it was the hardest thing for me to stop playing and losing all my assets. Damn, I might have financed my university with that. Whatever. But that all is really a great value proposition for the average player and a good value proposition they will find out long term. But it's not the USP. It's not our unique selling point at the moment. We have to start, and now the full cycle, sorry about that. We have to start with building interactive, cool games that, then all this transparency, interoperability, decentralization, ownership of assets, and play to earn, the concept in itself, all this comes second. But yeah, having fun, that's the biggest challenge for us at the moment. But we are getting there. 4 years to 2020 it started, so there will be a lot of fun coming into Web3 gaming very soon.
Cool. So I agree with the concept of asset ownership. It's mainly the revolution compared to Web 2 games. Super important to know how that could be leveraged to build a community around it. And the second layer is potentially using governance protocols to have that same community owning the future development of the game. That is an important component. You mentioned play to earn. It is also something revolutionary. We know it's been here for a few years, but still the concept of being rewarded for playing is something completely new compared to Web 2 games. It is also one of the issues of Web 3 games, because if you're just minting a token, giving it to people for playing a game, then that token will go down in value. So it really highlights the importance of building a sustainable economy and solid tokenomics, and maybe something that uses revenue from a certain segment of your players and distributes it to this other segment. I disagree with some founders who say, I don't want to have any play-to-earn component in my game because play-to-earn players are just value extractors. And my point is, yes, but you can control that. You can have a limited cap every month and say, these are the rewards. They will be distributed no matter how many players are in the ecosystem, because you do need those play-to-earn players' communities because of the word community. So if you can attract the community that is thriving, that is engaged, and has either whales who are actually the spenders and also play-to-earn players who are the value extractors, and you're the middleman that is charging transaction fees, then that's a model that works. But if you only talk to the people who are spenders, then you might not have a large community, And if you only cater to people who are trying to extract value, then your economy will fail. So as long as you can potentially mix both audiences and be attractive to both of them, the first one, who are the whales or the spenders, they need fun. They need a game that is really entertaining, and that they would spend all their money on it. And the other type of people, like if we think all these people who played Axie Infinity 2-3 years ago and even built houses in the Philippines, they're here to make money. They look at it as a job almost. So if you can build mechanisms for those people to be able to generate constant revenue by playing in a very regular and very competitive way, that's okay, as long as you also have another segment of your players that is actually here for the fun and willing to spend. And that spend will potentially cover your own revenues as well as all the distribution of the rewards to the play-to-earn players.
This panel next question was about the differences of Web 2 and Web 3 gaming, but I see that you're all supporting integration, like cross-industry integration between two. So I would like to ask, do you think it's possible to have ownership or play-to-earn components, like be rewarded for playing in future of Web 2 gaming? Just imagine playing Minecraft or World of Warcraft for tokens or for their incentives.
I don't think so, only due to the fact that that has to come from the bottom line of a corporate's balance sheet, and that's not the current model. As in, the likelihood of that change fundamentally would be just as alien to them as Web3, because at the end of the day, you are giving the value back to the players, and that value currently is going to the corporate and the game development studio behind it. So I think I think it's unlikely that that would happen without blockchain integration, just because it's not an easier transition, in my opinion. Maybe from a tech side, it could be, but from a shareholder side and from an delivering back profits to a Web 2 company to just start no longer monetizing the player and giving that monetization to them, that would be a decision that if they took, it would probably hit their share price. Whether it's the right decision or not isn't necessarily the question. The question is whether they could do it, and I find it unlikely they would, because they would need to increase profit in another area in order to offset that cost that they would now be giving to the player, because that's where they've been earning their revenue in the past. So never say never, but I think it's unlikely just due to the fact that it's not the current monetization model, from a tech standpoint as well, it would be quite difficult to find an alternative. See what everyone else thinks.
It's interesting because I have an opposite point of view. I don't think that they will. I already think that they are, because I can argue that World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike 1.6 are play to earn. There were hundreds of thousands of people in China alone that were playing to earn money. They were paying their bills by the money they earned from playing, like mining gold, selling the swords and stuff. Obviously, blockchain provides a better technology to sell, so you don't need to go to the dark market, be afraid that you will be scammed. But these are play-to-earn games, because as soon as the games have the assets that have value, you're earning them. You're playing, because obviously some games it's like very random. In some games, the more you play, the more valuable assets you get, and you can go and sell them. Like FIFA, I know people who play FIFA and they don't play football themselves. They just trade cards, not to make money, just to make for the fun of it. But there are people, you get like Cristiano Ronaldo, epic, legendary card. You can sell it for money. You can sell it like for 5K, 10K. This is play to earn to me.
Actually, that's very true, what you just said. Play to earn is not a Web3 concept. Play to earn has been tried in Web 2 by various big and small gaming studios various times to open secondary markets. The component of working to make money in a game didn't succeed for various reasons. For example, it was simply not enough money that people could make. And when it felt like work, people didn't want to play. So there's a psychological component to this as well, but it's a discussion for a very different time. When looking at the big gaming studios of this world, look at their job openings, and you will find blockchain developer positions that they are actively hiring. What does it tell me? It tells me they are looking into the Web3 space and getting into the Web3 space. Is this happening with the AAA, the big blockbuster games that we know all? Who knows? Let's see. I'm curious. I've heard now various things from integrations in GTA with tokens and so on. There's this big part of Web3 yet in those blockbuster games. But I also hope that we, as a blockchain industry, as a young, very innovative, rebellious industry, I hope we can make that change. I hope it's not the big gaming studios that will move the Web2 gamers to Web3. I hope it's the young, innovative entrepreneurs that take the risk on them. They work hard, they work nights, they work endless hours to really make that change. And I hope that, with you guys attending here and listening to what we as game developers have to say, makes me, first of all, very happy that there's so much interest. But yeah, check out Web3 games, be supportive of that space, and let us, the young entrepreneurs of this world, make that change, and not the big gaming studios to monetize further on technology that has been fueled by idealistic thoughts.
Thank you. I think I agree to a certain extent with both visions. I think the old titles, they are making so much money, and their business model is opposed to the idea of sharing some of that money with anybody, because they're here for the money. But I also think that the same big studios, they're looking at this Web3 thing, and they're seeing it growing and having like a lot of interesting promises. So all of them are building new titles to kind of like test the waters. They're not necessarily going all in. But I think the minute one of them successfully launches a very large-scale game, they will all go all in. And then that's what you said, money talks. So if one of them actually succeeds by attracting millions of players and generating millions of dollars, then they will all try to emulate that and compete with that. I think the future of Web3 technology in gaming should be in being seamless. It's a back-end technology, so there's no reason for it to be shown on the front end. And that is how Web3 would really become a norm for a lot of the games, because it has a lot of things. Obviously, ownership of the assets, but also immutability, which is super important. So if you even forget about the ownership of the assets, but if you track game events, who logged in, who won, who lost, just that, and put it on blockchain, then that is super important. You cannot get hacked, and you don't need to store people's information on your server and get hacked like Sony did, for example. So using the technology for multiple use cases, either for identity verification or for immutable data or for asset ownership or to distribute rewards, all of these advantages cannot be ignored by big studios or even small studios, game developers in general. So the technology will be adopted one way or the other. But the mass adoption, I believe personally that it will come only after one big title kind of hits it hard, and all the others will follow. I know that Zynga are releasing titles. Ubisoft are also working actively on a few titles. So we'll see how that unfolds, because there's a sentiment from the Web2 gamers that is like, as you mentioned, Web3 or crypto is a scam. But if it comes from these major studios, they will probably trust it a little bit more, and then we'll see that unfold in I believe the next few years.
Our panel is ending, and I hope that this panel was really helpful or useful to you. Please do not hesitate to reach out to any of our well-esteemed speakers for any question about Gamefi. Dominic, Eugene, Laurin, Fehmi, it was a pleasure hosting you. Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause, everybody.